Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today we have with us Venkata Mohan Sir, Dr. Rajasekhar Sir and Nishanth Sir from Feynman IAS. Just to introduce the three faculties, Venkata Mohan Sir is the director of Feynman IAS and he has authored many books on the subject. His books relevant to anthropology are Cultural Anthropology, Anthropological Thought, and both of these books are on Amazon. And Naveen was a student who secured All India rank 75 and became an IAS officer with anthropology optional. Dr. Rajasekhar Sir is also a renowned faculty for civil services for the physical anthropology section. Rajasekhar Sir has done his PhD on biomolecular sciences from the University of Lethbridge, Canada. And also we have Nishanth Sir who has done his BTech and PGDENM. Nishanth Sir has reached a civil services interview and has appeared for civil services multiple times. Nishanth Sir is a faculty in history and he teaches archaeological anthropology, that part of the archaeological. So today we have these three esteemed faculty for anthropology who have been teaching students for last, I would say, on an average 10 years. If I'm, please correct me if I'm wrong, sir. And Nishanth Sir has been teaching for 4 years, and Dr. Rajasekhar Sir and Venkata Mohan Sir for a bit longer. So today's webinar agenda is to help students, help and guide on how to prepare for anthropology. This optional has become one of the top scoring subjects in the UPSC. If we talk about the toppers, there are so many toppers who have scored rank in top 5 in the last few years with anthropology, and this is a subject which is now getting more popularity among the students from science background or from humanities and history, sociology background. So this is a seminar that we have conducted for the benefit of our students, and how to score big in UPSC, how to overcome the challenges faced, while preparing for anthropology. And now that prelims is coming up, students are looking to start preparing not only for this year's mains exam, but also for the Civil Services 2021 exam. So it is very, very important, that, students overcome all their, doubts and ask these three esteemed faculties on how to prepare for anthropology and how to score big in anthropology. That is the most important part of it. So for the next, 30 minutes, I will be, passing on the session to, the faculties here. They'll be discussing about, the subject and what is anthropology, what are the pros and cons of taking anthropology, how it is, compared to other optional subjects, and, how to score big in these subjects. So, for the next 30 minutes, the three faculties, starting with Dr. Rajasekhar Sir, they'll be starting, their, understanding of the subject from their experience. And after that, after 35 minutes, we'll open up the session for you to ask the queries. You can ask the queries in the chat boxes. You can ask the queries through audio section. So over to you, Rajasekhar Sir, and thank you once again, all of you. I mean, it's a great pleasure to host you here. Over to you, Rajasekhar Sir. Please. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kushra. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good evening to all of you. So myself, Dr. Rajasekhar, as I was introduced, I have BSc in genetics and I've done PhD in biomolecular sciences, specifically the parts we study in the human genetics part related to biotechnology and its applications. And then I've also done postdoctoral research, and I've been teaching in anthropology since last 3 years at Feynman Institute. And first of all, you probably all aware about what anthropology is. This is study about ourselves, how humans evolved over a period of time and in the multiple contexts. Okay, this has become, of course, becoming a popular subject for several reasons, as it was pointed out already. This is a subject that is interesting for everyone to read, okay? And sources have been figured out. And one specific reason many people say that this is more or less static. There is less dynamic part of it. But for sure, like any other subject, there are a few areas where things are happening at a rate that we need to pick up, but comparatively less. Like for example, we have epidemiological anthropology and physical anthropology part where this pandemic problem that we are experiencing, whole globe is experiencing, comes under. So there is a possibility of asking newer and different questions, right? So yes, you probably already have an idea about what anthropology is. For anyone who is a little confused about what optional to pick for, there must be few reasons that you probably have some inclination towards any given optional, right? So when you figure that out, initial part out, because no expert can help you with that, But once you find that you filtered, there are few subjects like sociology, anthropology that you want to choose between, then read the syllabus. Look at the syllabus and see whether you can connect to the syllabus and does it feel that you are able to understand it and handle it. But I don't think it guarantees anything because there are people who switches the optionals. But the best thing is to spend some time in selecting that optional. And once you choose that optional, and this has to happen through your proper understanding about the syllabus and deciding based on the other factors, not necessarily that many people take it, not necessarily because there is a lot of material. It doesn't matter how much material is available in the market. It is you who have to spend time and understand it. If you are actually, anthropology part, and doing great. So many students with no in anthropology with the physical anthropology. What are the reasons behind it? One, the sub and the concept. So we have aspects that we have to be careful about in physical anthropology. Start with the basic parts first. Okay, unit 1.7 that we have where you talk about DNA structure, cells. I know questions are not coming from this in the exam, and I do even see some toppers saying that no, don't bother to read that unit. But as a teacher, I understand that those basics are very, very important. It saves a lot of your time when you read the basic components first, like unit 1.7. Okay, begin with evolution, and once you finish reading about evolutionary concepts where you don't need too much of knowledge about DNA, then talk about unit 1.7, and then you actually start going into the details like human genetics part, or you start reading about Mendelian genetics, population genetics, and variation, human variation like race concept, genetic markers. Go with like that. Okay, so when you actually deal with the information in such format, it becomes actually easier for you to follow. And most importantly, what we have to do, being able to see the connection. Here, we are not trying to become experts in these areas, but trying to see the human development, human evolution in the context of biological developments. In our DNA, how DNA guides us. Is it always DNA or is it environment around us? So there is something called nature-nurture debate that comes to you. So you have to figure out the connections here. Once you figure out the connections, it's a matter of finding right resources, reading them, understanding them, okay? Add some value to it. How do you do that? Because I know many times people suggest, especially for the physical anthropology, to go with certain standard references. What are those standard references? Like Pnath is considered to be the most go-to book in it. And I definitely agree that there are not many books doing the job that Pnath does. It defines the boundaries well, and the information that you may not find in many other books can be found here. But as a teacher, I myself find one problem here. It is not to comment on any book, but just the way some books are written. So here, what happens is they actually put together, it's like a guide. It gives the information, as you want, as you can present, but it doesn't help you understand the concepts, right? So for getting little deeper understanding, as I've done in the video, we recommend one biological anthropology book where, people have expertise in it, talk about it. Only selected units, as in the syllabus, select them and read those, okay? After you finish reading Ember and Ember. Once you do that, yes, you can go with any material in the market, or you go to the Pnath book so that you know how to present the information and what examples to give. Okay, so do that and connect yourself to the content, understand the connections here. Then you have few areas where you may find it a little difficult, like studying the fossils. So here we have to study about those unearthed objects that you find, probably the remains of the human bodies, or maybe tools, and make connections. There we don't have a complete picture. Okay, we don't know every aspect of it. We don't have all puzzles figured out. So to understand what's missing, first of all, we need to understand how these methods work. Okay, what are the shortcomings? How much can we trust on the data? That we need to know. Once you know that shortcomings, in the exam, depending on how questions are given, Nishanth sir will talk to you about that, like where the examiners are giving in such a way that you don't have too much of a choice to leave out. Okay, where you may have to be a little bit more critical. Okay, but the critical concept only comes when you understand the concept, right? Correct? So follow this holistic approach. Okay, Venkata Mohan sir will talk to you about how many resources that we need to have, we need to go through. You don't have to go through several resources, but pick the best resources to read and understand 10. If you want to add value addition, go to the newspapers. There are articles if you're interested. We have enough information that I have collected on this, that if people can digest, can add value to it, we can provide, but you don't need to. Okay, so do that. This is what we actually would suggest students to do. Understand the syllabus to keep it simple here, and then find the right resources, read from it, and then starting to make connections. Okay, when logic forms, that is the best thing about sciences and physical anthropology, is where we actually have a logic and evidence to the information. Okay, which requires slightly different mindset than when you read cultural or socio-cultural anthropology. Okay, follow that approach, utilize those evidences, come to your own understanding on it, and try to put into the context that you study in the socio-cultural anthropology as well. If you listen to the toppers videos, they say that I could combine the information and give you a more broader perspective towards the end of the question when needed. Okay, that has to happen once you thoroughly understand the concepts given as part of the physical anthropology part. This part is actually scoring because you know what to expect. Okay, what to write, what examples are well known in this field. So those things, if you figure out, you should be able to do well, score well from the physical anthropology part, and get out of the fear of that people have, whether they can follow biology or not. Okay, with a little bit of effort, with a little bit of reading, you all can. Doesn't matter whether you're engineer or not, you can. And toppers who got over 360 marks were engineers. Okay, so it is possible, but everyone is different, so you need to have a different time, like a requirement of the time and amount of time you spend, the way you read, the way you pick up information. Those variations will be there. So from my side, these are my ideas. So if you have specific questions towards the end, once we all provide a brief description on this, we'll come back to the questions. So keep note of your questions. I'll come back to those things if I've missed anything or if you didn't understand anything. But this is what I would like to tell you about physical anthropology part. Okay, I'll pass on to you, Kush, or should I send it to Nishanth? I'm done here.
Yeah, I think, sir, we can pass it on to Nishanth, sir.
Yeah, Nishanth, sir, please go ahead.
Sir, I am audible?
Yes.
Yeah, hi everyone, I am Nishanth. As Kush sir has already introduced me, I've been to civil services interview, and then I teach history and also archaeological anthropology at Feynman IAS. So Rajasekhar Sir has briefed you all on various aspects about the changing trend of questions and also the need for having a different approach for physical anthropology. So I'll just focus on what is the changing pattern of late, especially after, if you see the 2017 examination, most of the toppers were from anthropology. In top 100, there are many people who were from anthropology. From there, if you see 2018 and 2019 papers of anthropology, the questions are no more direct questions. So for example, if you take social anthropology, no one is going to ask you define marriage. So that kind of questions you cannot expect in the present scenario, and you need to have a critical approach. Critical approach in the sense, your answer should be more informed, and if you see even the toppers who have consistently done well in anthropology, their answers have introduction to various anthropology thoughts, and also various scholars of anthropology who have been in every answer they are trying to bring the anthropological thought. And also wherever required, especially in anthropology, you need to give a lot of examples or case studies. And coming to archaeological anthropology, it is generally neglected part in most of the institutes. In most of the institutes, archaeological anthropology is either not taught or is left for students to study. However, if you see last few years trend, archaeology has become very important, and by default we have minimum to minimum 2 or 3 questions. You take it in either Stone Age or in Harappan civilization. By default, you have one question from these topics. And the advantage is the syllabus is very limited when it comes to these topics. You hardly require 2 or 3 days or maximum of 4 or 5 days to revise the entire archaeology. So by just revising for 4 or 5 days, you straight away have a chance to score 50 to 60 marks in the examination. So that is one benefit which archaeological anthropology gives you, and the content is by and large static. What all you need to have is memorize, revise multiple times, because there are a lot of sites, Paleolithic sites, Mesolithic sites, Neolithic sites, Iron Age sites, and then the Harappan sites. Then you need to be drawing some subtle diagrams to indicate those sites. You need to talk about those cultures and all. So for this the material is also very limited, and you can easily cover it. And if you see the pattern of the questions of late, as Rajasekhar Sir was saying, some students tend to avoid some topics. They tend to leave some topics. Probably UPSC has understood that, and now they are giving combination of those topics. In general, you have to attempt 5 questions. I think everyone is aware that you need to attempt 5 questions, 2 from section A, 2 from section B, and the fifth question can be from your choice. And each question will have A, B, C. 20 marker, 15 marker, 15 marker, or 20 marker, 20 marker, or 10 marker. So this is how a question is framed. So either in your 20 marker or a 15 marker or a 10 marker, the topic which is generally left by the students is being now included. So now you cannot leave anything to chance. If you see the margin of ranks, at each mark you have multiple rankers. So each and every mark counts in the examination, and archaeology is the best bet to maximize your score. If you see all the toppers, they have done extremely well in archaeology. So Kush sir, I would like to share the screen.
Yes, sir. Please do. Tabish, can you give the screen sharing rights to Nishanth sir?
Yes, of course. You can share now, sir.
How do I do it, sir?
Go to screen sharing.
At the bottom, you will see a green button of share.
Yes, sir. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes.
So this is regarding archaeological anthropology. So if you see broadly, the main units of archaeology are covered in unit 1.8 of paper 1 and unit 1.1 of paper 2. Broadly, the topics to be covered in the archaeology are Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, Neolithic age, Chalcolithic age, megalithic burials, Harappan culture, Iron Age, continuity in culture, and etc. If you see the last year question, you had a direct question for 20 marks on megalithic burials, which is like anyone who has prepared for even one day on this topic can easily score 20 marks. If you write it properly, I'm sure you'll at least get 15 out of 20 marks. So that is the advantage with these topics. And then just give me a second. Yeah. So what are the sources for archaeological anthropology? One is a textbook called Upendra Singh. So she has very elaborately discussed about these concepts in her book. Her book is very huge, but you need to have selective reading. You need to understand the topic, you need to see the syllabus, and then go back to that particular topic and make your own notes. the most important thing for archaeological anthropology is to have your own notes, because if you have the complete topic in one or two pages, it is easy for you to revise and just before the examination and do the and write the best answer there. And the next source is VN Mishra. So at Feynman IAS, we broadly cover these sources, and also we bring on some latest happenings in the archaeology. So next, what is the importance of archaeology? As I rightly said, it is very limited syllabus, increasing number of questions from this part, and high potential of scoring. So if you see all the toppers, and in general, what is the trend, like how to write the best answer in archaeology is the general question of many aspirants. So your answer should cover the following, framework. For example, if you take a Paleolithic age, which is the old Stone Age, so you need to write, you cannot assume that the examiner knows something and start writing, from between. You need to even define the most basic of the concept. If some question is coming on a Paleolithic age, you need to define what is Paleolithic age, and then what is the geographical time period. Is it lower Paleolithic or is it upper Paleolithic from 10,000 BC and so on? What were the climate conditions of that time? Was it ice age, or was it becoming less of ice age and so on? And then what are the tool technologies? So this is one important part. So whenever you're mentioning any tool in archaeology, you need to draw some pictures of them so that the examiner knows that you have a clear-cut idea of what you're speaking about. And then what are the tool materials? Tool materials, is it made up of quartz, or is it made up of some marble or pebble? You need to have the tool materials memorized. And then what is the culture? When it comes to culture, what is the kind of pottery? Was the pottery used for household, or was it for commercial purposes? What are the food practices? Paleolithic age was more about hunting and gathering. By the time we came to Neolithic age, it was more about, Mesolithic was raw form of agriculture, and Neolithic was, more sophistication in agriculture. So all these, you need to mention. And what are the important sites? So when you're saying sites, when you want to say a Paleolithic site as Bhimbetka cave, anyone will know what is a Bhimbetka cave who has basic knowledge of archaeology. So what differentiates you is you draw a map, and somewhere near Madhya Pradesh, the Bhimbetka cave is there. So that shows that you have the knowledge of the cave or the location what you're speaking about. If you're talking about Neolithic site called Burzahom is in modern day Jammu and Kashmir. So you need not be that accurate. You can just draw a random Indian map figure and then try to point out that this is what I'm trying to talk about. And then what is the significance of that particular site? What has been its contribution to that particular culture? And then continuity. These last 2 points are important when you write any answer on Harappan culture, because there's a lot of literature on Harappan culture. So better to have your own notes for Harappan culture. Be very clear of what you're writing. There are various aspects of Harappan culture like religion, trades, and then what are the seals. So there are many aspects which will be covered exhaustively in our course, and then you can make the notes. And Harappan culture is something which you cannot leave. It from minimum 10 marker to 20 marker, you will get at least one question regarding its continuity, or regarding its religious practices, regarding its urban planning. So these are all. One advantage of archaeology is when you read these, you will be covering some part of culture for your GS1 as well. So that is how you can interrelate topics and write more holistic answers when you prepare for archaeology. So that is from my side regarding archaeology preparation. And Kush sir, that's it, sir.
Sure. Thanks, Nishanth sir. May I request Venkata Mohan sir? Venkata Mohan sir, is he here? So we can wait for Venkata Mohan sir to come in. Before that, Rajasekhar sir and Nishanth sir, you have been teaching students of anthropology for a while, for so many years. What is the difference you see, when anthropology toppers who have become UPSC toppers, what is the difference in preparation you see comparing toppers versus students who are not getting selected? What different things they do, these toppers? Yeah. Over to you, Rajasekhar Sir.
Yes.
And then we can have Nishanth Sir give his view.
I think when I happened to speak to, I remember speaking to, I think, UPSC rank 6 holder. Happened to talk to him once in detail. I think the better connectivity they make with the society and the way the maturity they have, they show in the answers. Okay, what I've seen, like they probably have went through the material, read it. They took a little bit of time to basically digest it and improvise the answers with basic case studies and examples and write it in a multidisciplinary manner, putting their thoughts as well as what is expected to be in the answer. As Nishanth clearly explained, there are some dimensions that we need to go through. There need to be a good structure. Yes, you have to give some value addition to that. That is where they stand out from many other people. Otherwise, we have a lot of sources, a lot of books, a lot of teachers in the market. But how you actually prepare yourself and present it in what matters, what makes them different than others.
Yeah, so eventually it comes down to your answer copy, how well presented you are.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Nishanth Sir, your views.
Sir, I think Rajasekhar Sir has made his point, and I agree with him because knowledge-wise, sir, I have been also in touch with many people who have been clearing civils with anthropology and all. Knowledge-wise, I think more or less people are on the same platform, but then connecting the knowledge, as Sir rightly said, now the anthropology cannot be looked as you cannot divide it into vertical structures like physical, social, archaeology or like that. So you have toppers who are actually giving physical anthropology examples in social anthropology. So that means that is how well informed they are. So as Mohan Sir always says, your answer in anthropology or any optional in fact should be more informed answer. So it's like, though you are writing, for example, if the basic question is about a marriage, so if you see toppers, they are calling some anthropological scholars into their answer, giving their case studies, and then writing more and more dynamic case studies. And then it's a framework of the answer which needs to be maintained right from introduction, body, and conclusion. It should be more of an informed answer which makes a difference.
Understood. I think we have a question from the student here. Sujata is from she's a civil engineering student. Will it be beneficial for her to opt anthropology optional? And how can she start the preparation from basics for UPSC?
Sujata, I'm an electrical engineer, so it doesn't make any difference as long as you're passionate for the subject. You have all the literature for anthropology. Only thing is, as Rajasekhar Sir was saying, you need to be more structure oriented with regards to the preparation. And if you can structure your preparation well, I am sure it will just take 4 or 5 months to get good grip of the optional.
Sure. And in general, Nishanth sir, there are a lot of students who say, we are in final year engineering or pre-final year. They are looking to start preparation for the exams from basics. So anthropology and overall general studies, what should be the agenda for students to start, from scratch, if they're targeting a 2 years horizon, let's say?
Yes, sir. Sir, ideally, if you're saying 2 years, I think that they should be very comfortable with their preparation because what would be the strategy is, when you are aiming in the final year to write the prelims next year, so you'll generally have 1.5 years of time. So you need to have basics, sir. Having basic knowledge is something which is fundamental for even general studies. In my attempts also, I've been doing well in general studies because you need to know the basics of general studies well, for which you need to have you need to cover the NCERTs and other books to have the basic knowledge and then build on from the current affairs. So that is how I always focus on my preparation. So that is how I used to do it.
Okay.
And then just join. So shall I continue or shall I just stop it?
Please finish the answer. Yeah.
So, with regard to 1.5 year time, so to clear prelims, I always feel even for a new aspirant, it is 6 months of very good preparation is enough. Very good preparation of 6 months is enough. So they have to focus on optional, being it first attempt, and then on GS, sir. Optional and GS they can spend 8 months, and then 6 months exclusively for prelims for a first attempt person.
Sure. Thanks, Nishanth sir. I think Venkata Mohan sir has joined us. Sir, are you listening to us? Okay, so we will take just one audio question then. I think, sir, you are on mute. We can't hear you, Venkata sir. Okay, let's take one of the audio question. Tabish, can you allow a few audio questions from Sophia? So once we have sir, I think we can.
Sure, sir.
Sir, we can't hear you.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Go ahead, ask your question, Sophia.
Yes. Sir, my question is, as I'm a fresher student, so basically I want to know कि anthropology optional current affairs से कितना correlate करता है, plus anthropology अगर मैं as an optional अपना add on मतलब लेती हूँ अगर अपने next year के preparation में, so मुझे GS में कहाँ पे anthropology help करेगा, जैसे sociology help करता है, public administration help करता है paper 2 में, so anthropology लेने का कितना benefit है हमें?
Rajasekhar sir, you want to take it?
Yeah, I think I would ask Nishanth to begin and then add the physical anthro part of it. Nishanth, go ahead with.
Yeah, hi Sophia. A very valid question. I know because now this is an increasing trend among the aspirants to see what is the benefit they are getting by choosing a particular optional in their GS papers. So a very valid question. And if you look at anthropology, Sophia, you just go through the syllabus. You know, especially the social anthropology, physical anthropology, the archaeological anthropology, as I was just saying, you will straight away get a head start in your GS1 history paper, you know, that is culture. And even in GS1, you always get question from Harappan culture. So the moment you prepare for archaeological anthropology here, you are already covering some part of culture in your GS1. And also, with regard to the paper 2 of anthropology, there is extensive coverage of tribes. If you see last year prelims question, there was straightforward question which says how many Pvtgs are there in India. And to my surprise, almost 90 out of 100 people could not answer it. And the guys who answered it were anthropology optional people. And in prelims, even 0.2 or 0.3 marks will make a difference. And the answer was 75 Pvtgs. So it was straightforward question. In fact, last year paper was one of the toughest in prelims. Everyone knows that. So answering one question there will make you enter into the mains. And also having knowledge on tribes will extensively give an advantage again in the society part of the paper 1 and also the paper 3, internal issues of paper 3. That way your anthropology is a win-win for your optional as well as GS preparation.
And so what about current affair?
Sir, Rajasekhar sir, you please add on the current affairs part.
Right. Yes. If I see in the aspect of physical anthropology part, because I'm also a teacher who teaches science and technology for UPSC along with current affairs part. So currently, given that we are going through COVID-19 pandemic scenario, it rightly fits into the epidemiological anthropology that we have. Okay. So where how diseases actually infect people, like you can pick up examples like Andamanis that we have seen cases in Andaman, and how those tribes who are actually not well trained to deal with this type of pandemics are vulnerable to it. So those aspects are very much relevant here. And plus all the new developments that we are bombarded with on almost everyday basis, the vaccine coming, what phase it is. For science and technology, we go through like what are the different phases in vaccine development, what is stopping us from getting a good vaccine, like why virus is behaving weird here, Like why we don't have vaccines for many well-proved infections, like HIV, for example, why we don't have vaccine for MERS, SARS. So those type of things also fit very well into epidemiological anthropology, plus the human genetics applications part we have, where DNA technology in medicine that we talk about. So how DNA technology improves the overall concept, but we still have limitations. We cannot get a vaccine in 6 months or 1 year. It takes years of time. So those aspects you read in current affairs part can be added advantage for the human genetics part as well as epidemiological anthropology part. Plus applications of anthropology, there are many things there, like what type of diagnostic tests we do, where do we use anthropology like anthropometry, in forensic anthropology, in identifying the criminals and personal identification, paternity disputes. They also fit very well into it. Those are the parts where you see correlation between your science and technology, again for paper 3 plus this.
I think you'll agree the most popular test, the RT-PCR test, falls under the physical anthropology part.
Exactly, yes. It falls under the physical anthropology. All those things, vaccines, treatments, disease spread, disease statistics. Okay, the trend where we see that we are moving from the communicable diseases to non-communicable diseases. Although we see pandemics because of environmental threats that humans are causing, but you see that context as well there.
Thank you so much, sir. We will take a next question from Vara Lakshmi. So, Vara Lakshmi, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir. I am Varalakshmi. Hello.
Yes, you are audible. Go ahead.
My background is math. How to grasp easily anthropology and how to score marks. Sir, I hope you understand. Hello.
Yes. Nishanth sir or Rajasekhar sir?
Nishanth, go ahead. Yeah.
Varalakshmi, as I just told, your background will not make any major difference as far as preparation for optional is concerned. So,
Yes.
in fact, in the first 5 minutes of conversation, Rajasekhar sir has rightly mentioned that choosing optional is a very, very individual choice, and one has to extensively go through the syllabus, see if the syllabus is really comfortable for them, and then look at the literature and all, and then if you are really passionate about the subject, it's as good as maths. You can master it in no time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And we will take us a next question from Anil Yadav. Anil, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello.
Yes, Anil.
Sir, this is Anil Yadav.
Okay.
Actually, sir, I have done my diploma in 2010. Right now, I'm a diploma engineer. Sir, from last year, I'm looking for preparation in UPSC. That's why I have taken admission in BA. Sir, may you please give me some suggestions for preparation as I'm 31 years old?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Nishanth. Yeah.
Yeah, Anil. So is it your first attempt, or you're trying to start the preparation? Is it that you want to say that you want advice to start the preparation, or you have already given the exam, Anil? Hello, sir. Kuch sir, I think we lost.
I think yes, sir. He told actually he wanted to start the preparation.
Okay,
His
fine,
chat
sir.
says he has taken admission in graduation in 2019. So I think he is yet to complete his graduation.
Right.
Okay, sir. So Anil, since you have been in diploma and 10 years of experience, I'm just looking at the chat, and now that you have just joined the graduation and you're already 31, so you may be having maximum of 2 or 3 attempts. That depends on what category you fall in. But my advice would be to immediately start the preparation parallelly along with your graduation. So if at all, if you want your graduation stream to be your optional, focus it as far as the UPSC pattern is concerned. You should focus more on that part, or else if you want a new optional to be taken, and then you need to parallelly start the preparation, because 3 years of or 4 years of graduation and you'll be only be giving your attempt in 2023 or 24. So please be focused and keep noting the current affairs and cover the basics, Anil. As I just told, please cover the basics of NCRT books and all. Then start revising along with updation with the current affairs.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, we will take a few more questions, and next question is in chat. A question is, which optional is better between anthro and sociology? This question is from Ankit. Yes, sir.
Is Venkata Mohan sir on call? Sir is, I think, best person to answer that question because he teaches both sociology and anthropology.
Right.
But personally, I say that it's a personal choice of what you prefer, right?
I think that's a classic. I think that's a classic question for Venkata Mohan sir to answer.
So we try to answer that question. There was one question I think where a student asked about archaeology too, right? If sir is not.
Okay.
You can, I think Nishanth can address that question. There was a question archaeology.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you give one more example regarding the archaeological anthro with the help of your slide answer writing?
One more example. Okay. So you want me to share the screen again?
Yes, sir. He wants to share. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
So this is the answer writing pattern. So this is by and large the framework for most of the archaeological answers. So now we have spoken about the Paleolithic age. So we'll try to fit Harappan culture into this particular framework. So the moment you are talking about Harappan culture, so you need to give some basic introduction to the Indus Valley civilization, like when it was found by whom. Around 1930s, there were a lot of excavations in the northwestern part of then United India. So the Harappa was the first site which was excavated, and thus the name of Harappan culture came. So you can just simply give 1 or 2 lines of brief introduction why Indus Valley civilization is popularly called as Harappan civilization or whatever. And then the time period you need to give it is from 2500 BC to around 1750 BC. And then what was the climate? It was not an ice age, it was normal climate at that point of time. What are the tools? Again, now when it comes to Harappan culture, it depends on the type of question they are asking and what are the marks allotted. Because I would like to say, you need to give your best answer within the limited words. Since last 5 or 6 years, that has been the pattern. You cannot overshoot your words. For a 10 marker, you need to answer in 150 words. For a 15 marker, 200 words, and for a 20 marker, 250 to 300 words. This is the limit UPSC has set. And so you need to give the best points for that particular answer. For example, if they're asking about the Harappan socio-economic life, you need to focus more on pottery, food practices, and so on. If they're asking about the religious practices of Harappa, you need to focus more on the nature of natural worshippers, how they had this phallus worship, what are the seals they had. If they're asking about the Harappan trade relations, you need to talk about their dockyards at sites like Lothal and all. If they are talking about continuity, you need to talk about the Kalibangan sites where there are fire altars, which the Vedic period again used. So your answer should be customized. While the broad framework remains the same, based on the number of marks that particular answer is allotted, based on the exact relevance of that topic, you need to customize and fit into this framework. So that's where your notes making becomes very important. If you have 2 or 3 pages of basic material or your own write-up on the 7-8 topics I mentioned in the archaeology, it becomes very, very easy just to go and reproduce them in the exam. Especially as I was telling in my initial uh, this thing. So last year there was 20 mark a question for megalithic burials. All you had megalithic burials are by and large confined to South India. All you had to do is, talk about the definition timeline, where at the period you have to draw India map, show 2 or 3 megalithic burial sites and draw few megalithic burials, what are the different types of burial practices and their culture, what are the gods megalithic people believed in, and if at all, if there is any continuity, what is that, and it belonged to Iron Age because there were a lot of iron tools and all, what is the time period, and just conclude saying that this was by and large a South Indian burial practice, and also it's a very simple way of almost getting 15 to 16 marks for a 20 mark question. So that's how you put it into this framework.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And sir, one student is asking about he's a fresher student, Vijay, and he wants to know about which book he to start for anthropology.
So, Tabesh, I think we can introduce Venkata Sir is here. So,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Venkata Sir can take this question. So, welcome, sir. I think you had some problem at your end.
Yes.
Venkata Sir, can you hear me?
Now I'm fine.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So yeah. So then the introduction, we have
Few words. Can I say few words?
Yes. Please, sir, go ahead.
See, my first point is that this is very, very scoring optional. There is around 30 marks difference between top scores in other papers and in anthropology. So everybody should consider anthropology, except with one qualification. That is, if they are not comfortable with physical anthropology or even archaeology, maybe this is not good. But if they think that they can do these two papers, I think anthropology should be the first choice for every student. So that is why we introduced Dr. Rajasekhar and Nishanth to explain their approach to physical anthropology and archaeology. And if you are comfortable, I think anthropology makes the best optional. That is giving 30 plus marks difference, because 320 is a top score in sociology, political science, whereas in anthropology 360, 350, it is very, very high. So you should consider these two areas and then decide whether to take anthropology or not. So that is my main point. And I made 2 extensive videos on what is anthropology and how to prepare for anthropology. So please watch them if you have not watched. So now you can continue to ask questions. Please proceed.
Sure, sir. Sir, student is asking about the book list to start the anthropology, basic plus advanced. Hello.
Sir, can we ask them to refer to the booklet that we have made where book list is given? That's probably the good source.
See, we are giving our material. And I myself authored 2 books, one cultural anthropology and another anthropological thought. And then on other areas we are giving material, and then we recommend 1 or 2 books. But from other books we have taken selections and we are giving PDF and then our own notes. So you don't really have to do much. Just go by the course. And other references we have given in the booklet we are releasing.
Okay, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Sir, there is one question from, I think he's not mentioned his name. I am preparing self since January 2020, but still I am very confused regarding the optional, which I can opt out, and I am BSc passed out student. Yes, sir.
Rajasekhar, maybe you can answer.
Sir, I'll pass it to Nishanth, sir, because he's the one who experiences this type of dilemma. Right, Nishanth?
Okay. Sir, as I said, this is already asked by one of the attendees here. Optional is purely one's choice and the passion, and also now in the present scenario, as Mohan sir has rightly said, scoring has become one of the criteria for taking an optional, sir, because uh, the ranks, if you see the topper, if you leave out the top 10 ranks, right from rank number 11 to rank number 800 or 900, entire rank list is covered within 20 to 25 marks. So if your optional is giving you a head start of say 20-25 marks, if you are able to do few aspects of that optional which are considered to be difficult in a good way, you have to go for it. One is that, and one is the scoring of the optional, and second is your inclination or your your passion towards that optional. You might be a BSc pass out, you might be an electrical engineer, civil engineer. It doesn't really make any difference. Venkat sir himself is an engineer and he is mastered sociology and anthropology. So I think your background doesn't make any difference, and it is only being smart in this exam. That is what I think is more important.
Just if I can interrupt, I think there were a couple of questions where they were asking about which units come under archaeology. I think Nishanth can finish that up, right? You anyway mentioned that, Nishanth. Just I think tell them again what units are covered as archaeology. You have to unmute yourself, Nishanth. I think you're on.
So the major units which fall under the archaeology are unit in paper 1 and 1.1 in paper 2.
Understood. Tapish, I think we can take last few questions and then we can.
I will take a last audio question from Rajasekhar.
Sure.
Yes, Ravi. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Ravi.
So, I completed graduation in economics this year, and I'm planning to appear this my first attempt in 2022. So, an option is all about interest now. I am a history enthusiast, but I am not interested in taking that because of the vast syllabus. So, I decided to select the anthro. So, my question is, when should I start preparing for this optional, and how to start it from the scratch?
Okay, Ravi. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Venkata sir or Nishanth sir? I think Nishanth sir, this is coming to you only.
Sorry.
Venkat sir, you want me to answer or you will take it, sir?
You please answer. You please answer.
Sir, what was the participant's name, sir? I forgot.
Rajasekhar.
Rajasekhar, yeah. The passion for history is something which everyone have, and even I had that passion for history, and I have given.
Nishanth shifted from history to anthropology.
So I have given my history couple of times, and I have even made for interview. So I think the point you're making here is very important. The syllabus for history is huge, and also let me be very, very honest with you. The quality of history coaching, the type of history the coaching which you get, I did not find it on par with the UPSC level. Maybe it's my perception, so that's why I'm saying it's and then you need to have lot of critical analysis. Only when I encountered Mohan sir, I came to understand that I still have certain gaps in history preparation. So that gap, and also considering the timelines, if you see the present year, from prelims to mains, you have only 90 days, exact 90 days. So to cover optional like history, which is so huge, I'm sure it will not suffice. And the advantage with anthropology is the boundaries are clear. the boundaries are clear. You have, if you can, as Rajasekhar sir was saying, if you can connect the 4 verticals of anthropology in a very proper way, you can master it in 3 to 6 months, I am sure.
Basically, in anthropology, can I complete?
Yes.
Can I continue? So basically in anthropology, I find the questions are very close to the wording of the syllabus. So very predictable, and plus they're repetitive. And then more scientific in nature, more specific information. So in some optionals, you have something mentioned in the syllabus and you don't know what can come under that syllabus. I mean, it's unpredictable. Whereas in anthropology, wording is closer to the syllabus. You just have to go by the wording of the syllabus, and under each word, you can guess what needs to come, what can come. So it means it's more horizontal. More horizontal. When there is vertical, it is predictably vertical. So it is very clear. In other optionals, it is not so. It's very difficult to predict what can come under that particular topic. So that makes it easier.
Sure.
That's one.
Thank you, sir. I think we can just one last, thoughts I wanted to come from Venkata Mohan sir. I mean, I asked Rajasekhar sir and Nishanth sir in the start of the session. Venkata sir, you have been teaching students for last so many years for sociology, for anthropology. What was the difference that that created among the students who could clear the exam and who could not? So how did the toppers prepare differently, and what made them stand out among the crowd and get a rank in the list? I mean, you have taught All India rank 24, Prudhvi Tej, and other guys, Nishanth. How these guys were different from others?
I would say any person who is going to clear has some level of intelligence and hard work. There is no doubt about it. Some hard work and some intelligence are needed, but after that, exam seems to be a lot of certain techniques and certain approach. And recently, I gave a name to this formula, which is called PDF. P stands for previous questions. The command over previous questions is very important. From the previous questions, one should have an idea of what can come. And number 2 is diagrams. Diagrams is the latest trend in the examination. People are drawing diagrams in unusual ways. So another tip I can give to the students is that they can watch PowerPoint presentations, or they can go to PowerPoint software and see what are all the possible diagrams. And students are doing that. And then the third thing is about facts. People are memorizing tons of facts. Quotations, authors, books, and case studies. And to this, I would add examples also. Examples can be facts or can be simply observations from daily life. So PDF and examples. So I find, and also people are not thinking much in the examination. Their preparation is so thorough, they do multiple revisions, they take test series, they write hundreds of answers. So they are saying they don't have to think and they should be thinking in the examination. So finally, command over certain specific set of questions is what is key to 320 or 320 above. With a general understanding, they may get some good score. But I mean, even with superior understanding, but that superior understanding to be translated into very clear-cut rank, thorough mastery over the facts, diagrams. It is almost like predetermined answers unleashed in 3 hours.
Yes.
Unleashed, because very recently, because I was interested in making videos, I made 2 on anthro, 2 on sociology, and then trying on ethics and essay. I followed many toppers. For each optional, I followed 3-4 toppers, followed their detailed strategies. So there are certain common things emerging, and that common thing is enormous level of thoroughness. Enormous level. It is shocking. So a person with a good understanding can get up to 260, 250 plus, even with very good understanding. But for it to become 320 plus and 350s, it is thoroughness, thoroughness, thoroughness. I would say unleashing. If you are thinking in the examination hall, there is something wrong with you. It has become almost like that. I mean, these trends are shocking. I don't think exam was like this always. This obsession with facts is recent, and diagrams is entirely recent. And I think this kind of a new breed developed also because prelims changed. Prelims is eliminating a particular set of candidates. So prelims is selecting people who are more factual oriented, and so competition is taking place among the people who are already fact specialists. And so that is how the competition itself is being determined by the nature of prelims. Because I am seeing the trend. The exam was not as ruthless as it is now. It's not like that. And diagrams is so completely new. Because last year only we had a sociology topper. So he got training in Hyderabad from me. He went to Delhi, and then we asked him, what is the difference between what I taught and what you learned in Delhi? So these are the things, particularly diagrams. Diagrams is completely new. And I find that I was going through Niti Aayog report. Niti Aayog report also is tables, fact sheet, diagrams. So if you see, answers also seem to be like this. That's why I coined this formula PDF. Previous questions, diagrams and graphs. Unleash multiple revisions. So the person who prepares well will not have an edge when the other person is so thorough in that already identified questions and unleashing the answers. This is the trend that I noticed. After the basic base of understanding and intelligence and hard work, there is some basic limit. So after that, this seems to be the criteria. This criteria is something new, which is quite recent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And that was to the point, and as honest and as to the point as possible. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and all the students. We are launching the anthropology and the sociology courses by Feynman IAS after the prelims.
There is one question on the book. One question on what was cultural anthropology was about. Cultural anthropology, my book was entire paper 1 minus physical anthropology. So starting with scope, marriage, family, kinship, culture, society and culture, political, economic, religion, research methods, everything is covered. I think it is an equivalent of Ember and Ember plus Madan and Majumdar and any other miscellaneous things that we normally do from other areas. And it provided a coherent picture. Basically, it was based on 15 of my lectures of the previous course. I added some facts and cases to those transcripts and brought it out as a book. So, and we are following a new method from this course, at least we are trying to follow. That is, we want to give material in advance and also maybe our videos also in advance, so that in a classroom we can discuss things and we can attempt answers to the previous questions and do things collaboratively. Okay, I got this idea. This is called flipped classroom method. So when I was trying to find out what would be online equivalent to my offline classes, then I learned about this concept of flipped classroom, where everything is given in advance and higher end skills are refined in a classroom. So there is a reversal of classwork and homework. So at home he does the basic things, and in class there is training at a higher end skills in thinking, analyzing, and answering previous questions. Because at home, he is learning things for the first time. Whereas usually students are learning things for the first time in the class and additional things, homework at home. We are trying to reverse. So I want to give the material in advance, that book in advance, and class videos in advance, so that in the class we can spend more time on discussing and higher levels of skill set. That is our plan. Please.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So just wanted to conclude, and thank you so much everyone for joining us. As I said, just to repeat, I mean, we are starting with a new batch for anthropology and sociology just after prelims on 10th of October, and you will be getting access to the classes on the same lines as the 3 faculties here, suggested. And we all look forward to learn and crack UPSC together. Let's make all the dreams come true. And we are here to help you. You can go through NeoStencil website and explore Feynman IAS courses. You can go to feynmanias.com and explore the courses there. So that's all from my end. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Venkata sir.